Welcome to the Friday at 4 podcast series with your host Charles Luttrell and co-host Steve Kent.
Steve, good afternoon. Welcome back to Friday at 4.
Thank you, Chuck. I'm happy to be here. Good to see you again, as always.
Glad to see you could make it today, another 4 o'clock.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
well, it is 4 o'clock somewhere,
Ah,
and here's
you
where I
did it
choose to
early.
be. So,
Oh,
okay. Had
4
to throw
o'clock
that in
somewhere.
there. Okay.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Yeah. Uh, so it's been a very interesting week. A very exciting, fun-filled, eye-opening week. And
Okay.
it's Friday. Here we are. And let's get this podcast going, man.
All right. Sounds good. So I was kicking around a whole bunch of ideas, and I came across something that at least I think is something that we can talk about. And I don't believe that we chatted about this before because it has been 60 plus episodes. So I just put that out there. I don't think we did this before. And it's a topic that I thought was good called standards. Why, first of all, what is it? Why do we need it? Who cares? And all those fun things that go with it.
And do people
This,
care? Yes.
people do care. And a standard really high level is somebody performs an action or service to create something, and somebody else receives that product or service. So it's really two sides. So why is it so important? So the person, and I guess you can start either way. The person, and I guess maybe we'll mix it, it's probably easier. The person who, let's say, in its simplest form, and I don't mean to make it the simplest form, but it's a simple example to explain. Somebody is in a fast food restaurant, and their job, their function, at least for that shift that day, is to make the French fries. Again, I'm making this very simple, but it's easy to explain. It's easy for me to explain it. So somebody makes the French fries. So they have to know how many French fries, however that's measured, to take out of a bag or a box, put it into a fryer or however they make it,
The basket.
cook a basket. Thank you, because you're the food guy. I'm not. Okay. Um, they put it into the oil and it fries for a certain amount of time. Out come the fries. Maybe they have to shake it to get some of the oil off. Maybe they add salt or not, based on a customer's request. They put it into some type of box, bag, plate, wherever they put it, and it's served to the customer. So the standard of making it the same way every time is important because the person who's receiving those French fries in this example expects cooked the same way, taste the same way, same amount of maybe not specific fries because they're different sizes, but the same size portion. So somebody makes something, somebody receives it. Simple example, but it's two ends, if you will, of a transaction. And it makes a lot of sense to the person who's paying for it. Am I getting value, the perceived value for my money?
That's a great example, Steve, because if you think about it, how many times do you go to a fast food restaurant and ask for fries and you get a medium fry? Every time those medium fries are not the same in the holder. A
Correct.
little more, a little less,
Correct.
you know? Yeah.
So in the example of fries, and I'll use McDonald's as the example, they have an amazing system. They have, I believe it's called Hamburger University. I believe, if
Huh?
I'm not mistaken. And they have exact standards. So the person who's making the food knows exactly everything they do in order, portion control, cooking times, wrapping. I mean, everything is down to a science. So it's easy to follow. it's cost effective, and the person who's purchasing that food knows what to expect every time. And it's a
Yep.
great model. It really is a great model.
Except for a guy like me, because when I go and order my fries from McDonald's, I always get no salt,
Okay.
and I will always get a different amount from every different place I go.
Mhm.
It might be overflowing, it might be half of the cardboard
Yep.
packaging, but because I am interrupting that standard because they have to cook a separate basket
Mhm.
of fries with no
Right.
salty, and they don't dump them in. What they do is they put the basket by the fry holder, and they have the tongs, and they take out the fries, and I see them put them inside the
Oh,
holder every time. So they
wow.
make sure those fries have zero salt. Yeah, it's amazing how they do it, but that standard gets disrupted by a guy like me.
Okay. So I am also the no salt fries type of person. But what I was told, if you go into, and again, I'm going to use McDonald's because they have a great system. And again, they really do.
Really does.
Everything is to a T. But if you happen to go into lesser known, less frequented, you may not be sure if the food is really fresh. Because again, I'm not in the industry, but I do know that there's a time limit that the food can remain there before it has to be thrown out because then it's not fresh and whatever those rules are.
Right.
But if you really want to make sure that you're getting fresh, order it differently. Order the burger without the ketchup, without the pickle, extra ketchup, um, fries without salt. Whatever it is, order it differently so they have to special make it.
Yeah.
Then at least you
Yeah.
have a better opportunity to get something you want that is fresh. So some people, and every so often I'll do that if the place I'm in may not be to my standards. And again, my standards are different than yours, which is okay. But that's kind of the food side.
And I
And
try not to, to use McDonald's as an example, I try not to be that too special of a guy. I don't want to hinder that process for them because I know it's a pain when you have
right,
somebody, and I hear it all the time. I'm sure you do. I hear it all the time when I go to McDonald's. People, I want my cheeseburger with light ketchup, a little extra mustard, no pickles, more onions, no, take all the
right.
onions off. And that really messes with it's fast food, man. But I get it. They want something special. But
Well, but I will tell you, and you brought up an amazing point. Whether it's fast food or it's a high-end restaurant, it does not matter because the same thing holds true. The person who's making the person or people that are making the food, they're making it a certain way. And they have, for lack of a better term, the process of what they have to do. Pick up this, put it in here, stir this, mix that. They know exactly what's done in what order.
yeah,
If you do change the order, you do mess up that process. You really
yeah,
do.
it
And you may
does.
not realize it because people have different tastes, different dietary restrictions, whatever else. So you really do need something different.
Yeah.
But if you go in, and that's why if you go into a restaurant and they're taking your order and you start to make changes, they're going to kind of give you a little look because you're messing around with the process. Now, yes, you're paying for it. You're entitled to something different. I get that. But understand, you are messing with the process. And if you get the wrong person cooking on the other end, your food may be a little different tasting. Okay.
A little extra.
Yes, a little bit different tasting. Okay.
Right.
But I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could.
Right. Right.
But yeah, but I mean that's the food side. You go in to get you go in to get your teeth cleaned. You know you're gonna sit down, they're gonna put the bib or whatever they put on you so the water doesn't splatter. You get a certain cleaning, they're gonna use
Drool
certain
napkins. I like to call it the drool napkin.
the drill napkin. That's a great term for it. But they're gonna do certain things in a certain order.
Yeah.
And when you go in, that order could be, and again, I've never really paid attention because whatever you want me to do, I do, right? But it could be you walk in, maybe x-rays first, maybe they'll do fillings next, maybe they'll do the floss or the water pick next, maybe they'll shine up the teeth last. Whatever that process is, it's the process. It's the standard of what's expected to be done
Yeah.
by the dental hygienist, by the dentist, and what's expected to be done and received for and services paid by the person sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
So regardless of what you're going into, it's that process and the standard. And the same thing holds if you go to work. We talked about, let's say, the McDonald's and the fast food. We talked about a dentist. But if you go into work in an office, same process. You're expected to be there on time. You're expected to do a certain amount of work, and you're expected to be paid for that work, whatever your pay cycle is, a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever your pay cycle is. And it's the same thing. And if you don't get that work done, then your supervisor, manager, whatever your person up is, the standard says, Chuck, you were supposed to do X, you didn't. So the standard now says I have to give you a write-up. Or the standard could say, Chuck, you did a great job. Now we're going to give you a raise. We're going to give you a promotion. So again, two ends of the spectrum, but the
Yeah.
standards are there to recognize and monitor what
Mhm.
you do, as it should
Yeah.
be. Because, people say I get an annual review, but I always keep saying, why are you getting an annual review? Because if you do something wrong during the course of the year and you don't find out until that annual review, they could withhold your increase or your promotion. You should be getting monthly or quarterly informal, hey, by the way, just in case you didn't realize it, this could be modified a little bit. Yes, it's documented, but now you have the opportunity between that discussion and the annual review to correct whatever they wanted done.
Yeah.
So now there's no surprises
Mhm.
on the review. And
Yeah.
I've always been a big fan of that. And sometimes it's not easy to have that discussion, but it's the standard. Again,
Yeah.
who's being told, who's doing the telling, and who's receiving that. And you have to be in line, because if you're not, regardless of what it is, there's going to be problems down the road. And that's not where we want to be of anything.
And I think what's important in everything that we're saying in this episode and talking about is you got to make sure that whoever's in charge of that person, that team, that process, that standard, to make
Mhm.
sure that everyone on that team is aware of what that standard needs to be and make sure people are upheld to following that standard. And,
Correct.
like we talked about with the McDonald's example, obviously that gets a little screwed off because you have people who are wanting extra things. But I think, as like you said, and in the training and in the processes, you have to make sure that everybody is aware of that standard so they can follow what is needed.
Correct. Sometimes following the standard is not easy, but it's there for a reason.
Yeah.
Because the business side, the person, regardless of what it is, the person who's providing that service,
Mhm.
it's efficiency. How many of the widgets can you create in that time?
Yeah.
Can it be
What a
done?
great topic too, right? Because I just had a conversation with someone I'm partnering with, hopefully pretty soon, partnering with.
Okay.
We had a same conversation about my business snapshot.
Hmm.
He wanted to know, like how it works on both sides of the coin.
Mhm.
And what a great, I'm glad you brought this up because it's amazing how we were having a conversation earlier and you talking about standards because he had asked me about, well, how would a customer, a consumer use that? And I said, that's a great question. I never thought about it from that side because on the review side, right? You have it from the business side,
Correct.
how the owner looks at the numbers from, his numbers, all the Yelp, Google, and Facebook reviews.
Mm.
But also the consumer can also look at that standard as well and say, well, what kind of standard is this business holding and that business is holding?
Right.
So, I mean, this what a great timing for a great topic, right? Because it's amazing how you picked that, but it fits for what we are doing, you know?
Did
And now
you
let's talk a little bit.
realize?
What's that?
No, no, go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, because I was going to say, I would love to hear your perspective on your side with your standards, because in the insurance field, the finance field, that standard is like,
So I'll make one kind of wisecrack comment here. Not a wisecrack comment. The fact that you were thinking about that and I said it means we're doing this a long time and we know each other too well. That's what that
yeah,
means. Okay. Which is a
yeah,
good thing because we do a great job.
yeah,
But on my side, every company is different. Okay. I work for Universal Wealth, but every company is different and how they do things is different. The end result is you have to comply with the state insurance commissioners, which is fine because, again, it's heavily regulated, it's dealing with people's money, and it should be. So I'm okay with
right,
that. But
yeah,
how you get to that end result is the different ways. Our company, we sit down with a potential client. The first conversation is always education only, short, no sales pitch, no products. The second conversation is a little bit of a deep dive into the person's financials. The third conversation is the proposed solutions to meet the person's needs.
yeah,
That's it. There is no deviation. Number one, we have to treat everybody the same way, and we do. Number two is if, and there's always that potential that we could get audited by the state insurance department or whoever else. So we need to know and be able to prove that we treat everybody the same way. And the only
yeah,
way you can do that is to have the documentation. That's it. There is, and I've said this to a bunch of people, not on this, these episodes, but I've said it to other people. And the question I ask people is, how many colors are there in the world? And the answer really is two. Well, for this example, there's only two colors. There's black and white. It's right or it's wrong. And if it's
yeah,
right, you go do it. If it's wrong, you better walk away. There is no gray. It's right or it's wrong.
yeah.
And that's
A
the
quick,
way we got.
yeah, quick question for you, because that really struck me to think about this. So, how many times, or I don't want to say how many times, but how frequently does your company or even you look at those standards to say, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing and following on a daily basis, hourly basis, weekly basis, monthly basis?
All the time,
Yeah,
all the time.
yeah,
We have various checks and balances through the system so they can see, okay, so you worked with this customer.
mhm,
Did you have that first conversation? Did you have that analysis of the person's personal financials? Did you create the the potential solutions? Did you have the right paperwork signed? Because as you go step by step, if you don't, something down the road is not going to work and they're going to pick it up in
yeah,
any number of ways. And
yeah,
some people say, well, that's too much oversight. My answer, I'm happy for it
yeah,
because and something you had said before, I put myself in the shoes of the end client. I would expect standards that those steps, one by one, in the
yeah,
right order, are followed.
yeah,
Because if somebody's trusting me with their financials and they know that down the road, 5, 10, 20, 30 years down the road, they're going to need that money, it better be there.
and something was wrong in that process. Yeah,
Right. And if
yeah,
something is wrong, the standard is there, the standard is not followed,
Yeah.
I don't want to be in a position 30 years down the road to say to Chuck, oh, I kind of took a shortcut. I'm sorry, but you don't have your money.
You're not getting it.
Chuck's
Have a
gonna
nice
come
day.
after me. I mean, really come after me. Okay. But
Yeah.
we don't want that to happen, nor should it happen. And again, put
And I,
yourself in the customer's shoes.
yeah. And I would hope between day one and year 30, that somewhere between that time that Steve and Chuck have some conversation and say,
Oh,
let's
we do.
revisit what you're working on. Yeah.
Yep.
You know what I
There is
mean?
a there is a defined
Right.
process every year,
Right.
minimum once a year. We have a
Yeah.
conversation. Minimum once a year, we have a conversation to make sure that what we put into place is working the way it's supposed to be working.
Yeah.
So if it's for some reason it needs a minor alteration or a minor change, we have the time to do that so you can still get where you want to be down the road.
Yeah. And I know this is different than stock market investing, but when I was heavily investing back in the corporate world, I was checking everything quarterly. I want to
Okay.
know how my
Okay.
finances were doing, where is my number growing, where is it not
Right.
growing, where do I move this money to
Hmm.
really maximize it?
Right.
And I don't know, is that a standard in your insurance world? Is it quarterly or is
Well,
that like overkill?
so in the insurance world, the typical rule of thumb is annual review.
Gotcha.
Now, could you do it more frequent? Yeah, you could. Absolutely, you could.
Yeah.
But it's typically annual review, sit down, because not only do you want to review what you've done, but you don't know if the customers or the client's needs have changed.
Yeah.
Did they
True.
buy a house? Did they have a child? Did they lose a spouse? They're
Right.
changed. Therefore, their needs change. So maybe you need to adjust the plan you put into place
Yeah. Yeah.
so you can get to where you want to be down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the same thing's got to happen for you too. When you go into a food store, whatever type that may be, there are standards, and that's what you're looking for is, does this work? Does that work? Is the customer experience good? Because if it's
Yep.
not, there could be a problem.
And what came up in a conversation was, well, how do you measure that? And I said, well, it's measured by their numbers. And that's how I put the snapshot together. And I said, and it's done monthly because let's say today I ran the numbers,
Hmm.
tomorrow you got 6 reviews. They're all positive. Now your snapshot numbers, your benchmark just changed. Your numbers changed. So now those numbers are not the same as they were yesterday, today. Or tomorrow they won't be the same. And that's why I tell him that, it's good to keep up on this monthly. That's why I was curious of what your standard was on how often you do it, because I thought about that, right? What if you have a client, in January, they had a baby, but they forgot to tell you now it's November. Oh my gosh, the baby, we got to add it to the policy.
Yep.
And you come around in January and say, oh, hey, just touch your base to see, how your policy, what changes. Oh, we forgot to add the baby.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
kind of thing I was looking at.
So a lot of people, they will send a birthday card. I'm assuming a husband and wife, or let's call it two partners for politically correct. Okay. So they'll
Gotcha.
send a birthday card to each partner. They may send an anniversary card. They may send a holiday card. So you're not waiting for the annual to say, "Hey Chuck, what's going on? How you doing? How can I help you?" Now you're hitting a more frequent basis of two, three, four, 5 times a year based on birthdays, anniversaries, holidays. So if there's a baby born in January and you're sending a birthday card in March, now it's only what? January, February, March. Now you're only 3 months, not 12.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there are various ways where you can look good and send out that card, and you never know what can come back, or you can
Yeah.
wait the year. And again,
Yeah.
I don't know, and I really don't remember, to be honest, whether it's written as an annual or it's just a thing. I don't remember, but the typical rule of thumb is annual, if not sooner.
Yeah. And one of the last topics I want to spend a lot of time on, I know we were short on time, but I'm
Oh,
going to throw it
okay.
out there. The thing that I got hit with earlier And I think East Coast, West Coast may be a little bit different. I'm not sure. I'm not out there yet to really explore what their standards are,
Okay.
but I would sit with, well, I don't think people really care too much about their numbers.
Hmm.
And I didn't say, huh. I said, well, let me tell you about the East Coast. They care about their reviews. They care about their numbers. They care about them a lot. And he was very curious to say that, that's interesting, you know?
So again, I'm not in your industry, but you may not care about the dashboard's numbers or what you're putting together. I know it's the wrong term and I apologize.
That's fine.
Um, but do you look at your revenue? Do you look at your expenses? Those are numbers. So if you're not looking at customer reviews, are you looking at anything else? Because if you're not looking at your numbers, you may not be in business too long because then your expenses could be more than your income. You
And
can
that
only
is
do that
exactly
so
how I
long and then you're
broke
out
it
of
down.
business.
And that's exactly how I broke it down. I said, so you might not look at your reviews or your immediate numbers. I said, but eventually you're going to look at your revenue. And then
Mm-hmm.
when you see that failing, that's too
Yep.
late because you didn't look at
Right.
anything else to see why your business is
Right.
failing. Now you're out of business. And then you went, good point.
We all know, and I am not a heavy math person. Um, I'm not sure I can spell the word statistics, but we know numbers. You can play with numbers. We know this. But there are certain things you have no choice. You got to pay your mortgage or rent. You got to buy food, um, put gas in the car, whatever else you do. You have to do certain things. If you don't have the money to cover those things, those are numbers. Those are numbers. So if you're not monitoring numbers, what are you doing?
What are you monitoring,
So
right?
what are you doing? And again, you can only go in debt so long and then you're in trouble.
Well, I told you a couple episodes ago, we talk about this a lot, and at least it comes from me a lot, is that I hear so much that I'd rather just stick my head in the sand and not even worry about nothing. Everything's good. How can you run a business like that? It's merely
You really can't.
impossible to
You
not
really
look at
can't.
anything.
You can't.
Right. Yeah.
Because you don't know, again, income expenses. You don't know who's taking advantage of you.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, we could beat on this all day long. So okay.
Right. Yeah. Well, what a great topic, right? Because
Yeah.
I think every industry, everything that we touch or talk about has standards. And I
Hmm.
think trying to get people to uphold those standards can be a challenge. And that's where I think I come in is that I can help you keep and meet those standards by showing you your business numbers, your snapshots, show you what your industry is, show you what your competitors are doing. And on the flip side, right, your standard is, when you sign up with me and we get that policy going, that standard has been met because you have all these checks and balances that you have to take care of.
Yep. And it should be.
Yeah.
So you know what to expect. You know what you're paying for. It
Yeah.
should be. And the person providing that service knows what to provide. So it works
Yeah.
on both sides.
Yeah. I would love to get um, Ken on here from the car dealership, my car dealership buddy. I would love
Okay.
to get him on here and hear his take on this standard in the car industry because I'm really
Mm.
curious, to see how do you
All right.
uphold those standards? I mean, you got a customer that walks in with an expectation and
Mm.
you can't meet that all the time. I mean, him and I talk
No,
about it
you
all the time.
can't.
He gets
No.
all this off the wall stuff. And it boggles my mind. How does a car salesman really get through that to uphold those standards, right? I mean, sometimes you bend over backwards for a customer
Yeah.
and then you lose them.
Right.
Sometimes you don't do a lot for a customer and they love you because, well, gee, you were just there. What an interesting industry, right?
It is. It is. Every industry has its thing.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Good stuff.
I
Good
don't
for you.
know. What a great topic you picked, and
Mm,
I'm glad you did because I didn't know you were going to talk about this. And the conversation I had earlier and yesterday and the day before just fell in line to really. It's weird how the universe worked at this one, right? Because it,
mm.
it it drove us to this point to talk about
Mm.
industry standards. You know,
Yep. It's important. It's very important that you know
yeah,
what you're paying for and what to provide. So yeah,
yeah.
very important.
And I think that's something too, like you talked about, right? If we don't have these standards, then you have chaos.
Yes.
And no one knows what they're doing. Take the fry example real fast. You can't put the fries in the oil if the oil's not hot. Well, the fries aren't going to look great. Now you
Right.
just messed up those fries. You cost your company money. You cost
Hmm.
time because if they're in the drive-through, now they're waiting longer.
Hmm.
Now your drive-through held
Yeah,
up, so now you're going to be behind on money, and it just keeps going.
it does. It
You know,
does. Yeah.
yeah. And like your industry, right? If you miss something in the application and you catch it 6 months down the line, two things can happen. You can fix it and tell the customer, like, okay, it's cool. Or 6 months, you catch it, tell the customer, you know what? You're not for me. Cancel it.
Yeah.
And you
Well,
lost a customer.
yeah. I mean, again, there's a whole bunch of checks and balances in there. So if the application is wrong, it
Yeah,
gets kicked back. It won't even go through. So that's one of the checks and balances. So yeah. And it's again, it's done on purpose, which is a good thing.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's been a while since I looked at the industry, your industry with finances, because I know there's a lot of paper when I was doing it. I don't know how much paper is involved nowadays, but I know everything is electronic and it's
Yeah, it's
not going to
electronic. A
go
lot of it's
through.
electronic. Yeah, most of it's
Yeah.
electronic. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's changed. And I
Yeah.
like that because it allows for these less mistakes, less things that happen like we're talking, because
Yeah.
that standard is in place to
Yes.
keep that from
Yes.
happening. So you don't have to tell Chuck, 6 months from now, well, Chuck, I missed a zero. You're not going to get 700,000. You're going to get 70,000. Whoa, hold up here. It's
Yeah.
a big one.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. What a great conversation, Steve. I love
Yeah.
this one. This is
Yeah.
good.
This is a good one.
Good topic.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's
Okay.
wrap this thing up. Final thoughts. What you got?
Stay true. Stay true to what you do. Um, don't deviate too much. You may not like it, but it's done for a reason. There are reasons why time wise, cost wise, stay to what you're supposed to do. Just
Yeah.
try not to deviate from it.
Yeah. Stick to the standards, stick to
Yeah.
what the company says to do, and only
Yep.
deviate if the company allows any kind of deviations, right?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Always ask. If you're not sure, always ask because the downside
Yeah.
could be significant because depending on what you're doing.
Right. Depending on the industry, right? Yeah. What the
Right. Right.
what topic it is and where you're working and what you're
Sure.
doing. Yeah.
Right. Right.
But well, in my industry, I can deviate whatever I want because it's mine. I deviate, I do what I want.
Yeah.
My customers might not like it, but I'm deviating. I'm doing what I want.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. And I know with you, you can't deviate too much because, well, the
Can't
computer's not
deviate
going
at
to let you.
all. Yeah. Which is
Right.
again, which is okay. Because again, based on the impact, yeah, we should not be able to deviate. So that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, will the system allow you? Well, I guess not because it would be a catch in the beginning and say, are you sure you want this amount? You sure you want this number of years? Sure you want this policy? So yeah, that's either a yes, no click, and it's not going to go past unless that's something that's
Well,
signed off by the customer, right?
well,
Yeah.
again, yeah, because anything you
Yeah.
do is agreed. It goes on an electronic application and it's sent to the client to look at.
Yeah.
So that's one of the checks. And then there's also all the electronic checks behind it. Does this box equal that box? And is this a percentage of that? So there's all those things in there for those extra checks. And then when the application goes in, somebody else looks at it. So there are multiple layers of checking again, which I think is a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 Well, our catchphrase is in
So,
the earlier of the show, but you can let's hear it again, man.
oh, I get to say it again. All right. It's 4 o'clock somewhere.
Look like somewhere. Steve, thanks for coming on. I know it's been a busy, crazy, hectic day for you.
No,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, let's catch up. And everybody
Okay.
have a great weekend. Enjoy the
Yep.
rest of the day, and we'll talk soon, Steve.
You got it. Thanks, Chuck.
See
Have
you,
a
man.
great day. Thanks,
You too,
everyone.
man.
Bye
See
bye.
you.
been watching the Friday at 4 podcast series with your host Charles Luttrell and co-host Steve Kent. Thanks for watching.